Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. How available should you be to your coworkers, to your clients, to your boss? This is becoming a hotly debated issue in the workspace. And with the help of technology, the lines between your workday and your non-workday are becoming increasingly blurred. And a lot of people are starting to feel like they're never truly off the clock. And this is causing a lot of tension. And some countries are fighting back by implementing laws called the right to disconnect laws. Basically, the law says if your employer tries to contact you outside your work hours, you legally don't have to respond. And to me, this seems like a no-brainer. But the fact that we've gotten to the point where there's laws enacted for this kind of speaks to the point we've gotten to. For most of us, our work email is accessible on our home computer, or heck, it's even accessible on our phone. Or many of us have work messaging platforms that ping us just like a text message. So even if you're not at work, your phone is a direct connection to your work and your workspace. Heck, many of us, myself included, work remotely, so our home also dubs as our office. And when your home also dubs as your office, it can feel like you never truly leave work behind. I have to make a very deliberate effort to close my computer and close my office door and walk away at the end of the day. And a lot of us can really feel the pull to just quickly check that email or quickly respond to a message, even though it came through at 8 or 9 p.m. And truth be told, this is a constant talking point at my company. And I recently saw this headline about this topic where Kevin O'Leary said that he would be willing to fire a worker who put their phone on silent outside of work hours. And to me, that's wild. O'Leary went on to say, "What happens if you have an event in the office and it's closed, or you have an emergency somewhere and you have to get a hold of them at 2 in the morning because it affects the job they're working on?" My response to that would be to simply say it could just wait until the next day. I mean, unless there was an extremely special event, and I assume at that point everyone in the company would have known about it and would have planned for it. But unless you work in emergency services or are a first responder, most of us don't need to be responding to text messages at 2 a.m. I mean, I certainly don't want to be responding to work messages at 2 a.m. The only thing I want to see at that time of day is the inside of my eyelids. As I mentioned, this is a persistent talking point at my company. I own a company that operates across many different time zones. I have clients in many different time zones, and my employees are in several different time zones. So we have a lot of our workday where there's a lot of overlap with our working hours, but we also have a lot of the workday where there's not a lot of overlap with our work hours. And so inevitably, we end up sending each other messages and pings when the other person shouldn't be at their computer. This is something I'm very direct with during my hiring process and something I bring up every single week at our weekly staff meeting. You have a set number of hours where you're expected to be at your computer. But outside of that, when you get sent a message, you are not expected to check it and you are not expected to respond. Just because we work remotely and just because you can access these messages at any time doesn't mean you constantly have to be able to be reachable. I even tell my employees that if they message me outside my work hours, they may or may not get a response from me. Now, is there times where I'll pick up the phone or send a message beyond my work hours? Absolutely. I am so guilty of this, it is not even funny. But at this point, my employees and my clients actually call me out on it when I do it. Because whenever an employee responds to me and I know it's outside of their work hours, my first message back to them is, "You shouldn't be responding to me right now. Go enjoy your life. I'll talk to you tomorrow." So when the roles are reversed, they hit me back with the same thing. Admittedly, I'm pretty notorious for blurring these lines between work life and personal life, but I'm the owner of the company, so I feel like a bit more responsibility falls on my shoulders. I don't think it should be a condition of anyone else's employment to do the same. Over time, this is something I've gotten better at though. So during family time, I actually put my phone in a completely different room so I won't even hear it if it goes off. If I go out with my friends, my phone automatically goes on silent so I'm present with my friends. I don't ever want to be that person who's 100% glued to my phone and misses life going on around me. And like I said, I expect the same for my employees. I repeat it at every single staff meeting. Whether someone has worked for me for 12 months or 2 weeks, they get to hear this message on repeat. You are not expected to respond to messages outside your work hours. Close your computer and go enjoy your life. The work will be there tomorrow. Now, don't get the wrong impression here, because during work hours, people are absolutely expected to be at their computer and working. However, I just say all this to emphasize that I truly believe in the distinction between work time and personal time. When you are no longer on the clock, you should be able to close your computer and not have to respond to work messages. No one should have to keep their phone on and wait for their boss to message them at 2 a.m. just in case. To me, that's unacceptable. This recent headline about the right to disconnect laws was made because Australia just passed one of these laws, joining the ranks of many countries in Europe and Latin America. And because of this law being passed, Australia's Minister for Employment and Workplace Relations stated, "Clocking off used to mean something in this country. It meant time with your kids, time with your friends, or just time to yourself to relax. It should not be controversial that workers shouldn't be required to do unpaid overtime." And as someone who's dealing with this issue on a constant basis, especially in the remote workspace, without a moment's hesitation, I can say I 100% agree with that. Work should not be all-consuming with your life. That's why I was so baffled when Kevin O'Leary was just as passionate, but in the opposite direction. When asked on Fox News what he would do if he found out that an employee put their phone on silent outside of work hours, he immediately stated, "The next moment is, I just fire them." I think that's a terrible attitude, and I can definitely say I wouldn't want a job like that. I think work is important, and this is coming from someone who loves the job they do, who loves what they do day in and day out, and I feel really fortunate to be in the position that I am in. But I also love taking time away from work, time to relax, and time to just do whatever I want to do. When I was in the process of building my company, having 12-hour workdays was completely the norm. Going months on end without having a day off, that was normal for me. But, and this is really important to note, that was not a recipe for happiness. That was a recipe for me starting a business. That was a recipe for my entrepreneurial process, but it was also a recipe that led to a lot of anxiety and stress and total feelings of burnout. Getting my company to the point where I can have clear distinctions between my workday and then my personal life that does not involve my workday was 100% essential to my well-being. There were quite literally times where I was so overwhelmed with the level of work coming in and the level of messages coming in at all hours of the day that I completely found it difficult to breathe. And I'm not being an advocate for work overload. I'm just saying that this is what happened in the process of building a business. It was an incredibly stressful time, and I certainly wouldn't want to repeat that. And I certainly wouldn't expect anyone else to want to be a part of that. I think it's because I had this phase of life where there was really no distinction between personal life, and work just felt all-consuming that I'm so passionate about people having a full stop to their workday, where they have a point where they just close the computer, they turn off their phone, and just go enjoy their life. So I definitely think it's strange that we've gotten to the point where we need a law to say, it's okay that you have a life outside of work. That should be a given. It's so important to remember that our work is only part of what we do, part of who we are. It's not the entirety of who we are. I think it's great if you can find a job that you love, or at least a job you enjoy, something you're passionate about, because there's so many people who don't even like their job. And I feel like that's a bad position to be in because work is a huge part of your life. So if you can do something you like, well, all the better. But even if you like what you do or you love what you do, remember that it's still a job. It is just one piece of your life. It is not the entirety of your life. I think it's totally fine to have a complete stop to the end of your workday and remember to go enjoy your personal life. There will always be work to be done tomorrow. What are your thoughts on this? Leave them in a comment down below. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I'll see you soon. Bye. What's up? I'm Erin. That was too close. I'm gonna hit that chair like 400 times if it's that close. Issue is a deck and this is ridiculous. Such a lot. This recent No, but I also know a break. Try again. Not getting my. like the lighting's wonky. We'll give it a sec. I think it's